You believe church gatherings in the 1960s were simply about fried chicken and potato salad? Reconsider. These occasions nourished whole congregations with recipes holding decades of knowledge, ingenuity, and devotion. Here are 30 affordable recipes that supported Black church communities. Sweet potatoes with marshmallows topped every church gathering spread, prepared in metal pans that women transported from household kitchens to community halls. Yams were skinned and cut thick, arranged with dark sugar, margarine, spice, and nutmeg before being covered with small marshmallows that became golden under oven heat. The outcome tasted like warmth itself, with soft yams floating in caramelized syrup and marshmallows forming a brown top children competed over. These showed up at Easter meals and revival gatherings, necessary alongside ham and collards. Yams cost pennies per pound and kept weeks in storage areas, making them practical for serving crowds. Church matriarchs competed subtly over whose sweet potatoes achieved ideal harmony with recipes handed through generations and protected like treasures. The recipe symbolized prosperity even during difficult times, showing humble components transformed with care could produce happiness. Gullah crimson rice with sausage brought Carolina Low Country customs into community halls. A recipe with origins in West African jollof rice flavored across decades. Long grain rice was cooked in pork fat with onions, sweet peppers, and garlic before crushed tomatoes changed the blend into something hearty and crimson with smoked sausage providing protein. The rice soaked up every bit of taste as it cooked, becoming tender with each grain covered in tomato-rich spicing. Church ladies from coastal areas brought this with pride, understanding it symbolized cultural legacy, linking congregations to forebears who never abandoned their roots. Rice was affordable and served many when extended with vegetables and meat, making it sensible for church finances. The tomatoes contributed vitamins, while sausage offered richness to satisfy working folks arriving famished. Gullah crimson rice showed up at midweek suppers and Sunday meals, indicating someone valued honoring customs while nourishing community. Neck bones with rice turned what meat sellers viewed as leftovers into hearty, fulfilling meals with little cost and tremendous taste. Pork neck bones were seared in big pots until caramelized, then cooked for hours with onions, garlic, and bay leaves until meat separated from bone. White rice acted as foundation for tender meat and thick sauce, offering complete nourishment. Church matriarchs knew neck bones demanded patience and correct seasoning, converting tough portions through slow preparation. These bones cost nearly nothing at Black-owned meat markets, making them ideal for serving crowds on tight finances. The recipe showed up at weeknight suppers and revival gatherings, where its substantial character sustained folks through hours of praise. Children discovered that quality food didn't require costly ingredients, just understanding, time, and devotion. Neck bones with rice embodied resourcefulness, enabling Black communities to flourish despite economic struggles, demonstrating dignity and flavor could arise from what others rejected. Buttermilk cornbread from scratch came from church ovens in cast iron pans, seasoned across decades, producing golden circles with crispy edges and soft crumbs that absorbed pot liquor beautifully. Stone ground cornmeal was combined with buttermilk, eggs, flour, baking powder, and salt before being transferred into piping hot pans greased with bacon fat that formed the signature exterior. The outcome tasted unlike store-bought versions, with slight tanginess from buttermilk and depth from drippings. Church ladies competed quietly over whose cornbread reached perfect consistency, not too crumbly and not too cake-like, but hearty enough to satisfy appetites and accompany every recipe. Cornmeal was among the most affordable essentials available, with 5 lb packages costing under $1. The bread showed up at every occasion, from Wednesday fellowship to all-day singing, where batches vanished as rapidly as they were prepared. Children grabbed for edge pieces with additional crust, while adults valued how the bread extended meals. Black-eyed peas with ham hock cooked in church kitchens throughout the year, but carried special meaning on New Year's Day when congregations assembled to consume them for fortune and abundance. Dried peas were soaked through the night, then prepared slowly with a single ham hock that provided smoky, salty taste, while onions and garlic contributed depth. The outcome was creamy legumes in rich pot liquor served as stew or atop rice, with ham hock's meat separated from bone. Church ladies knew a modest amount of meat stretched far when paired with beans, offering protein without the cost of steaks beyond most finances. Black-eyed peas cost nearly nothing, with dried packages available for pennies, ideal for serving large groups after Sunday worship. The recipe held profound cultural meaning, linking congregations to Southern farming customs and New Year's practices, guaranteeing good fortune. Children consumed them without protest because pot liquor's richness made legumes taste exceptional, while adults valued both nourishment and connection with heritage. Peach cobbler with hand-rolled pastry came to church suppers in rectangular dishes, golden crust bubbling with fruit liquids that caramelized at borders while middles remained soft. Fresh peaches were cut during summer when plentiful and inexpensive, tossed with sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, and lemon juice before being topped with pastry dough, rolled delicate. The cobbler baked gradually until crust became golden and peach mixture thickened into syrup gathering in corners, producing bites varying from crispy borders to fruit-saturated middles. Church ladies prepared these in home kitchens early Sunday morning, scheduling baking so dessert remained slightly warm when presented. Peaches in season cost modest amounts at roadside vendors, with blemished fruit ideal since it would be prepared down regardless. The recipe symbolized summer plenty and preserving seasonal fruit, with families often jarring peaches for year-round cobblers. Children queued up eagerly, wishing for corner portions with additional crust, while adults enjoyed the pairing that tasted like festivity. Sweet potato pie with nutmeg was the hallmark dessert identifying African-American church gatherings, a pie so cherished that families protected recipes and church matriarchs competed quietly. Sweet potatoes were baked until soft, then mashed smooth and blended with eggs, evaporated milk, dark sugar, margarine, vanilla, cinnamon, and ample nutmeg that provided filling its distinctive richness. The blend was transferred into flaky crusts and cooked until filling became solid but stayed creamy, with surfaces developing slight gloss. Church ladies prepared multiple pies for every gathering, understanding sweet potato pie would vanish rapidly. Sweet potatoes were affordable throughout the year and kept well in storage, making them sensible for serving many. The pie symbolized African-American culinary heritage at its peak, with origins connecting to West African yam dishes. Children matured knowing sweet potato pie was better than pumpkin pie, recognizing this was their dessert, their heritage, their flavor of home. Smothered pork chops in sauce symbolized church supper indulgence, converting affordable cuts into something remarkable through gradual cooking and correct seasoning. Thick pork chops were flavored with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and paprika before being coated in flour and fried until browned, then set aside while onions and sweet peppers were cooked in drippings to establish gravy's base. The chops returned to the skillet, covered in rich brown sauce made from pan drippings, stock, and flour, then cooked slowly until meat became soft. Church kitchens overflowed with the aroma during preparation, signaling this would be an exceptional meal worth joining. Pork chops cost less than alternative cuts and could be bought from Black-owned meat markets where families maintained credit relationships, helping extend finances. The sauce was the key. Dense and flavorful, with pieces of caramelized onion dispersed, ideal for ladling over rice or absorbing with cornbread. Fried whiting fish transported coastal customs inland to community halls, supplying economical protein that could serve large groups without costly fish like snapper. Whole whiting were prepared and scaled, then sliced on both sides before being thoroughly flavored with salt, pepper, cayenne, and garlic powder. The fish were covered in seasoned cornmeal, forming crunchy golden layer when placed into hot oil, with flesh inside remaining white, flaky, and moist, while exterior became crisp. Church fish fries transformed into community occasions where men assembled around outdoor fryers while women readied sides, with aroma attracting neighbors from blocks distant. Whiting was among most affordable fish obtainable, with whole fish costing just pennies per pound and small bones that could be consumed when correctly fried. The fish offered complete protein and vital fatty acids, making them wholesome options that fulfilled appetites. Children mastered navigating small bones skillfully, picking meat thoroughly, and leaving behind pristine skeletons. Mustard potato salad showed up at every church gathering in large containers, its vibrant yellow shade from prepared mustard, separating it from mayonnaise styles and providing it tangy bite that balanced rich meat. Potatoes were cooked until soft, then cooled and cubed before being combined with minced onions, celery, hard-boiled eggs, sweet pickle relish, mayonnaise, and liberal squirts of yellow mustard. The outcome outcome was smooth and zesty with texture contrast from crisp vegetables and velvety potatoes served chilled during extended gatherings. Church ladies prepared potato salad in massive quantities, understanding it was a vital side dish to fried fish, barbecue, or any main course requiring starchy, cool balance. Potatoes were among most affordable vegetables obtainable throughout the year, with 10 lb sacks costing under $1. The mustard contributed minimal expense but tremendous taste. Families formed strong attachments for their congregation's style. String beans with fatback cooked for hours in church kitchens, converting fresh green beans into soft vegetables flavored with smoky pork. Fresh string beans were snapped by hand, with church ladies sitting in circles, removing ends while they conversed and giggled together. The beans were placed into large pots with pieces of fatback, water, salt, pepper, and occasionally sugar to offset the salt, then prepared slowly until the beans became tender and fatback melted into the cooking liquid. The outcome was beans floating in rich pot liquor that could be absorbed with cornbread, with fatback offering crucial taste and calories. Fatback cost nearly nothing at meat markets and preserved well when salted, making it ideal for flavoring vegetables for church masses. The beans showed up at every summer gathering when gardens yielded bounty, with families transporting bushels they had cultivated to be cooked collectively. Children matured adoring these beans, recognizing that smoky depth came from attentive preparation and patience. Cabbage braised with ham occupied fellowship halls with its recognizable scent, converting inexpensive vegetables into something substantial through gradual cooking with pork. Cabbage heads were sectioned and placed into large pots with ham hocks, onions, garlic, black pepper, and occasionally vinegar that enhanced the flavors. The cabbage prepared down until soft, soaking up smoky depth from ham, while the ham became fall-apart tender. The outcome was tender cabbage and tasty broth that people consumed with spoons, mopping up liquid with cornbread and removing meat from ham hocks. Cabbage was among most affordable vegetables, accessible throughout the year, with heads costing pennies and remaining weeks in storage. The recipe extended modest amounts of meat to serve large masses, with ham hocks supplying enough taste to make cabbage seem rich. Church ladies prepared massive pots that remained on stoves for hours, occupying buildings with aromas signaling supper. The cabbage symbolized sensible cooking that respected heritage while nourishing communities economically. Corn pudding casserole came to church gatherings in deep baking pans, its golden surface slightly caramelized and custard-like center, sweet from fresh corn, enhanced with eggs and milk. Fresh corn kernels were sliced from cobs and blended with eggs, evaporated milk, margarine, sugar, flour, and occasionally nutmeg before being transferred into greased pans and cooked gradually. The outcome was somewhere between custard and cornbread, with soft corn distributed in velvety filling that stayed together when scooped. Church ladies prepared corn pudding during summer when corn was plentiful and inexpensive, often getting bags from families with garden extra. The recipe extended corn into something hearty that could function as both vegetable and starch, satisfying appetites effectively. Children adored corn pudding because it tasted mildly sweet, while adults valued how it utilized seasonal bounty while producing something festive. Corn pudding demonstrated that church cooks mastered converting basic ingredients into recipes, fulfilling both hunger and spirit. Bread pudding with vanilla topping converted leftover bread into treasured dessert that showed up regularly, demonstrating ingenuity could produce something delightful from what might be discarded. Day-old bread was broken into pieces and immersed in blend of eggs, milk, sugar, vanilla, cinnamon, and occasionally raisins before being cooked until browned and firm. The outcome was custardy within, with moderately crisp surface, served warm with vanilla topping made from butter, sugar, flour, milk, and pure vanilla drizzled over each serving. Church ladies preserved bread crust and somewhat stale pieces throughout the week, knowing bread pudding would be required for upcoming gatherings. The dessert cost nearly nothing since bread was plentiful, and eggs and milk were pantry essentials, ideal for serving crowds. The vanilla topping elevated humble pudding into something that felt luxurious with sweetness and depth-fulfilling dessert desires. Children requested second portions, while adults recognized practicality of converting leftovers into festivity. Fried chicken wings with hot sauce were more affordable than whole chickens or breasts, making them sensible for serving church masses while offering crispy, flavorful chicken everyone enjoyed. Chicken wings were thoroughly flavored with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and paprika before being covered in seasoned flour and placed into hot oil that made skin browned and crunchy. The wings were fried until prepared through and crispy, then coated with hot sauce while warm. So, the spicy vinegary blend covered every area. The outcome was irresistible, with crunchy layer revealing tender meat and zesty heat that made people grab for more. Church fish fries frequently featured chicken wings alongside fish, offering choices for those who preferred poultry. Wings cost considerably less per pound than other chicken portions and prepared quickly, making them economical and sensible. Hot sauce contributed minimal cost, but converted plain fried wings into something with character. Children who couldn't tolerate heat consumed wings without sauce. Lima beans with butter and bacon converted what some children viewed as dull vegetables into something hearty through correct seasoning and pork. Dried lima beans were soaked through the night, then prepared slowly with bacon fragments, onions, garlic, and bay leaves until beans became smooth and soft. Margarine was mixed in at the conclusion, contributing richness and shiny appearance. The outcome was hearty enough to function as main course or filling side, with bacon offering smoky intensity and butter contributing luxurious texture. Lima beans were affordable, with dried packages costing pennies and producing massive quantities when prepared. The beans offered complete protein when paired with cornbread, making them nutritionally beneficial and economical. Church ladies prepared large pots that served many. Understanding beans would be favored with both adults and children who valued bacon taste. The recipe showed up regularly at Wednesday gatherings, demonstrating basic ingredients correctly prepared could produce something truly treasured. Turnip greens with pot liquor cooked for hours in church kitchens, occupying buildings with their recognizable scent, indicating traditional Southern preparation. Fresh turnip greens were rinsed multiple times to eliminate grit, then placed into large pots with ham hocks, onions, garlic, vinegar, sugar, and red pepper flakes that offset the greens' inherent bitterness. The greens prepared down until soft and dark, yielding juices into cooking liquid that transformed into rich pot liquor. The pot liquor was the prize, dense with vitamins and taste, frequently consumed from cups or absorbed with cornbread. Church ladies knew greens demanded correct seasoning and extended cooking to convert them from rigid leaves into soft vegetables. Turnip greens cost nearly nothing, frequently contributed by families. The recipe linked congregations to farming customs and symbolized cooking that nourished families through difficult times while offering nutrition. Children learned to value greens early, recognizing they were mandatory parts of supper servings. Chess pie with cornmeal was Southern dessert custom that showed up frequently at church gatherings. Its basic ingredients converting into something rich and sweet. Eggs, sugar, margarine, cornmeal, vinegar, and vanilla were beaten together and transferred into unbaked pie shells, then cooked gradually until filling became solid with moderately caramelized surface. The cornmeal provided the pie delicate texture and earthy taste that separated it from plain custard pies, while vinegar contributed brightness, offsetting sweetness. The outcome was thick and sweet with moderate graininess that made each bite intriguing, presented at room temperature in narrow slices. Chess pie demanded only pantry essentials that most families already possessed, making it economical for church desserts, serving many. Church ladies competed quietly over whose chess pie reached ideal balance of sweetness and consistency. The pie symbolized cooking that created abundance from modest means, demonstrating sophistication didn't demand costly ingredients or elaborate methods. Salmon croquettes with crackers converted canned salmon into refined finger foods that came to church receptions where something moderately fancy was required. Canned salmon was drained and separated, then combined with crushed crackers, eggs, onions, and spices before being shaped into small patties and pan-fried until browned. The outcome was crispy on the exterior and moist inside, with salmon taste coming through distinctly. The croquettes were presented on platters with saltine crackers for guests to assemble into small sandwiches, producing bite-sized portions that felt elegant. Canned salmon was economical protein that didn't need refrigeration before opening, making it sensible for church kitchens. The recipe extended modest amounts of salmon to feed large masses, with each can producing many small croquettes. Church ladies prepared these for afternoon gatherings following weddings and funerals, understanding they symbolized welcome and attention. The croquettes demonstrated church cooks could produce elegant food from modest ingredients. Chicken livers smothered in onions symbolized affordable protein that church kitchens converted into tasty dishes through correct preparation. Fresh chicken livers were cleaned and trimmed, then flavored thoroughly with salt, pepper, and garlic powder before being covered in flour and fried until seared. Sliced onions were cooked in the same skillet until tender and sweet. Then, livers came back to cook in sauce made from drippings. The outcome was soft livers in hearty onion sauce, ladled over rice or presented with cornbread. Livers cost nearly nothing per pound and offered concentrated nourishment, including iron and B vitamins crucial for health. Church ladies knew livers demanded swift cooking to remain tender, instructing younger cooks correct method. The recipe showed up at Wednesday night gatherings when finances were particularly limited, demonstrating organ meats could be delightful when correctly prepared. Children who first objected learned to enjoy rich taste, while adults appreciated both economy and nourishment. Oxtail stew with vegetables converted what butchers once distributed free into premium dishes reserved for special moments. Oxtails were seared in large pots until caramelized, then cooked for hours with onions, carrots, celery, tomatoes, and herbs until meat became fall-apart soft and bones yielded gelatin into hearty, dense broth. The outcome was intensely tasty stew that seemed costly despite costing nearly nothing. Church ladies recognized oxtails demanded patience and extended cooking, instructing younger cooks the importance of gradual preparation. The bones cost pennies per pound at black-owned meat markets. The stew expanded modest amounts of meat to serve large masses, with vegetables contributing bulk and nourishment, while gelatinous broth produced fulfillment. Oxtail stew came to anniversary meals and homecoming festivities, indicating this was occasion worth joining. The recipe demonstrated that correct method could convert what others rejected into something truly remarkable. Lemon pound cake came to church gatherings on cake stands, its thick golden texture topped with lemon icing that streamed down sides and solidified into sweet layer. Margarine, sugar, eggs, flour, and fresh lemon juice and zest were mixed together until creamy, then cooked gradually in loaf pans until cakes became solid. The icing was made from powdered sugar and lemon juice blended together and drizzled over warm cakes so it absorbed in while forming a glossy coating. The outcome was dense and buttery with vibrant lemon taste, balancing sweetness presented in generous slices. Church ladies prepared pound cakes for special moments. Understanding thick cakes could serve many people from individual loaves. The cakes preserved well for days, actually enhancing. As flavors blended together, lemons contributed minimal expense but converted plain pound cake into something with distinction. The cake symbolized custom and expertise, demonstrating church bakers mastered timeless methods that produced genuine refinement from fundamental ingredients. Banana pudding with vanilla wafers and meringue was the hallmark dessert that identified Southern church gatherings, with layers forming something that felt both sentimental and festive. Vanilla custard was prepared on stovetops until dense, then arranged with vanilla wafers and sliced bananas before being crowned with meringue made from egg whites, whipped until firm with sugar. The meringue was layered thick and twisted into peaks that browned beneath the broiler, forming golden surfaces people competed over. The dessert was presented chilled with cookies mellowed by custard while keeping slight texture. Church ladies prepared banana pudding for every major gathering, knowing it would vanish rapidly. Bananas were affordable and obtainable throughout the year, while vanilla wafers arrived in economical packages. The meringue expanded eggs further while producing striking display. Banana pudding symbolized the kind of dessert that made church gatherings memorable, demonstrating basic ingredients arranged correctly could produce something truly unforgettable. Hoppin' John for New Year's symbolized cultural custom and belief, with black-eyed peas and rice consumed on January 1st, guaranteeing abundance and good fortune. Black-eyed peas were prepared with rice, ham hock, onions, and spices until peas became smooth and rice soaked up all tasty cooking liquid. The recipe was presented at watch night services and New Year's Day meals, where congregations assembled to dine together and pray for blessings. Church elders instructed younger generations that consuming Hoppin' John on New Year's was vital custom, linking them to forebears. The peas represented coins, while greens served alongside symbolized paper money. Black-eyed peas and rice cost nearly nothing, making them available to every family regardless of financial circumstances. The custom united communities across economic boundaries, with affluent and struggling alike joining. Hoppin' John demonstrated that church food customs held significance beyond simple nourishment, linking people to legacy while nurturing hope for improved times ahead. Fried okra in cornmeal converted vegetables that some found slimy into crispy, irresistible pieces that vanished from platters instantly. Fresh okra was cut into rounds, coated in seasoned cornmeal, forming crunchy exterior when fried, then placed into hot oil until browned and crisp. The outcome was crunchy exterior and soft interior, with frying removing okra's natural sliminess while producing something that tasted almost like popcorn. Church ladies prepared fried okra during summer when gardens yielded bounty, knowing it would be favored with adults and children. Okra was simple to cultivate and yielded abundantly in southern warmth, making it affordable for serving crowds. The cornmeal layer cost pennies and altered the vegetable entirely. Fried okra showed up at fish fries and summer gatherings, presented hot from the fryer and consumed immediately with fingers. Children who insisted they disliked okra would consume fried styles, while adults valued how correct preparation could make any vegetable appetizing. Butter beans with ham cooked in church kitchens until beans became velvety and ham separated into soft strands. Fresh or dried butter beans were prepared slowly with ham hocks, onions, garlic, and black pepper until everything blended together. The outcome was dense, creamy beans in hearty broth absorbed with cornbread. Butter beans were southern essential that thrived easily in gardens and preserved well for winter reserve. The beans expanded modest amounts of ham to serve large masses with ham, offering crucial taste that converted plain beans into something remarkable. Church ladies prepared massive pots that remained on stoves through extended afternoon gathering. The recipe showed up regularly throughout the year, demonstrating itself dependable and cherished. Butter beans with ham symbolized the kind of cooking that nourished communities, illustrating how correct method and patience could produce contentment from humble materials. Blackberry cobbler from wild berries symbolized summer's plenty and the custom of foraging that linked church communities to the earth. Children and adults gathered wild blackberries from thickets along fence lines, coming back with stained fingers and containers full of fruit. The berries were mixed with sugar and lemon juice, then topped with pastry dough and cooked until fruit bubbled. The outcome was tart and sweet, together with wild berries offering more concentrated taste than farmed varieties. Church ladies prepared blackberry cobbler during short summer period when berries matured. The berries cost nothing since they thrived wild, making cobbler economical despite appearing luxurious. The dessert came to summer revival and vacation Bible school festivities, presented warm with ice cream when obtainable. Blackberry cobbler linked people to seasonal patterns and reminded them that life's finest pleasures originated from nature rather than shops. Boiled peanuts in salt water were southern custom that came to outdoor church occasions, with steaming pots of tender salty peanuts consumed while people mingled. Raw peanuts and shells were cooked for hours in heavily salted water until shells mellowed and peanuts became soft and briny. The outcome was unlike roasted peanuts entirely, with tender texture and salty taste that made them addictive. Churchmen frequently assumed responsibility of boiling peanuts for picnics and outdoor gatherings, monitoring propane burners and sampling batches until they achieved ideal tenderness. Peanuts were affordable southern harvest that many families cultivated in gardens. The boiling method was straightforward but demanded patience and focus. Boiled peanuts were consumed warm, with people opening shells and extracting tender nuts before tossing shells. The snack symbolized regional food tradition unique to the South, linking church communities to farming legacy. String bean casserole with bacon and onions was the kind of recipe that appeared basic but held significance. Fresh beans were snapped by hand, combined into pans with crisp bacon and caramelized onions until the entire kitchen smelled vibrant. The dish originated before shortcuts, before cans and mixes. When people crafted taste from beginning, that initial bite was smoky, tender, and sweet. A hymn performed through flavor. On church Sundays, this recipe always vanished first. The container circulated once, twice, and returned empty, a silent tribute to skilled hands and cherished memories. The bacon fat provided the beans their essence, covering them in taste that murmured of extended days in the kitchen and even longer days in the fields. A touch of sugar offset the salt, a technique handed down by women who understood that even vegetables merited indulgence. It was a recipe that communicated gently but remained with you, evidence that the plainest foods could seem the most substantial. Ground pumpkin seed porridge converted leftover seeds into a filling dish that offered both protein and beneficial oils. After pumpkins were prepared for pies or stews, the seeds were rinsed, dried, and crushed into a coarse powder. This powder was cooked slowly in water or diluted milk, forming a smooth porridge with a delicate, nutty character. Sweetened modestly with honey or molasses when obtainable, it became a nourishing breakfast or evening meal that utilized every portion of the harvest. The technique reflected West African culinary customs where ground seeds enriched soups and stews, illustrating how transplanted understanding enhanced American foodways. Generations following emancipation, pumpkin seed porridge stayed a seasonal specialty in some countryside areas, treasured for its wholesome qualities and mild flavor. Modern cooks might identify it in contemporary seed-based beverages and cereals, demonstrating that this centuries-old tradition still shapes how we consume today. Ground pumpkin seed porridge emphasizes the intelligence of never discarding what nature offers and honors a legacy of thoughtful resourcefulness that continues to inspire. Braised oxtails with rice sauce delivered profound taste and gradually cooked depth to sundae spreads across many African American neighborhoods. Oxtails, once affordable and disregarded, were seared in heavy pots and then cooked for hours with onions, garlic, and seasonings until the meat became butter soft. The cooking liquid developed into a velvety sauce that covered each grain of rice, forming a recipe that was equally comfort and festivity. Families reserved this dish for weekends when everyone could assemble because patience was crucial and discussion continued while the pot performed its wonder. Children stole samples from wooden spoons, attracted by the savory scent that occupied the house from morning until nightfall. The modest tale, once rejected by butchers, transformed into a focal point of dignity and creativity. Today, climbing costs and quicker cooking patterns mean fewer people invest the time to extract such softness from a basic cut of beef. But those who recall the dish describe it as a flawless blend of economy, ability, and the unhurried pace of family existence. Homemade cornmeal flapjacks for dinner were another method families extended basic staples into a satisfying meal. Flour, cornmeal, lard, and milk merged together in a batter that cooked into golden cakes on a hot griddle. My grandmother presented them piled, topped with syrup if any was obtainable, or consumed plain with margarine when syrup was absent. The flapjacks were light yet substantial, providing enough energy to sustain a family until dawn. They cost nearly nothing, but served many, which was precisely what mattered most. Children cherished the sweetness when syrup was included, while adults recognized the sheer nourishment of the cakes. In the 1960s, cornmeal flapjacks were a foundation when meat was limited, converting humble staples into something warm and dependable. It was comfort cuisine created from necessity, one of those dishes that never departed memory even as circumstances evolved. Homemade cornmeal flapjacks held the essence of economy, satisfying plates with devotion and perseverance. Okra and tomato stew was the kind of recipe that expanded a garden into a meal. The pot became vibrant with color, vivid reds and rich greens simmering together, thickened sufficiently to coat rice or cornbread. Okra was the foundation, its smooth consistency providing substance to every spoonful, while tomatoes contributed the zest that united everything together. Elders prepared it in the summer when gardens flourished and nothing went to waste. If you had a bit of onion, a dash of salt, and patience, you could nourish everyone. The aroma floated through the house, a blend of earthiness and seasoning that guaranteed something substantial on the table. It wasn't merely about flavor, it was about appreciation, about extracting something wonderful out of the earth and converting it into nourishment. In difficult times, this stew could support a family firmly. Some included smoked sausage when they possessed it. Others maintained it purely from the garden, but the sensation it provided was consistently the same: satisfied, content, cherished. It's a recipe that demonstrates comfort doesn't require money, just remembrance. Fried whiting fish was the pulse of summer gatherings and Sunday fundraisers, crackling and sizzling in cast iron pans behind the church. The fish was covered in seasoned cornmeal, cooked until browned and crisp, the borders curling gently as they touched the hot oil. The noise alone could attract a crowd. Children darted back and forth with paper plates, while elders cooled themselves with church bulletins, chuckling and anticipating the next batch. You could experience the brine of the ocean, the crunch of heritage, the labor of hands that understood how to expand a meal. Fried whiting was economical, satisfying, and recognizable, something every soul food cook could rely on to turn out right. Sometimes it was presented with white bread and mustard, sometimes with coleslaw and hush puppies, but consistently with dignity. It was food that moved well from kitchen to community hall to picnic table, and it never diminished its charm. Every piece was a small wonder of patience and oil, the flavor of pleasant company and strong faith. Pine needle tea provided a refreshing and revitalizing drink when fresh produce was limited during cold months. Enslaved gatherers harvested the youngest green needles from longleaf and loblolly pines, washed them thoroughly, and infused them in hot water until the mixture yielded a mild citrus fragrance. Abundant in vitamin C, this tea helped prevent scurvy and delivered a welcome brightness to winter meals heavy with salt-preserved foods. The tradition reflected both indigenous customs and West African herbal understanding, blending two continents' wisdom into a single nourishing cup. Families persisted to brew pine needle tea well following emancipation, and it stays popular among modern herbalists for its delicate taste and supposed immune-strengthening properties. Its evergreen aroma and warm amber shade remind us that even in the most desolate season, the forest provided sustenance. Pine needle tea demonstrates how watching the land and honoring its patterns allowed people to discover both medicine and solace, converting what others disregarded into a nourishing daily practice that fortified body and spirit alike. Ham bone broth with vegetables was one of those dishes where one fragment of meat seasoned an entire pot. A single ham bone, cleared of most of its meat, cooked for hours with onions, carrots, and potatoes until the stock became rich and smoky. My grandmother would include beans or greens if she possessed them, allowing the tastes to blend into something far more hearty than the components indicated. Families assembled around steaming bowls, soaking bread into the stock, and enjoying the taste the bone had contributed. It was economical cooking at its peak, accepting scraps and extending them into sustenance. The broth served many mouths, heated cold evenings, and managed with what was obtainable. In the 1960s, when meat was expensive, a ham bone could be the focal point of supper, demonstrating that economy and patience could extract taste out of nearly anything. Ham bone broth with vegetables held both sensibility and warmth in every ladleful. Hoppin' John was the pulse of New Year's dawn and every day that required a little optimism. Black-eyed peas cooked with rice and a touch of smoked meat became more than just a dish. It transformed into a blessing. Elders believed in it, claiming a bowl on the initial day of the year would deliver fortune, wellness, and enough to endure. The peas represented coins, the rice signified prosperity, and every spoonful seemed like a vow murmured between generations. You could detect the onions cooking before the pot even began, the kind of aroma that seemed like returning home. This recipe emerged from history from the low-country kitchens of the South and discovered its path into hearts across America. Even when circumstances were sparse, Hoppin' John remained substantial, satisfying bellies and souls alike. It wasn't an affluent person's recipe, it was the community's dish, one that held laughter, prayer, and resilience in equal proportion. Today, even if you only prepare it once a year, you can sense that same desire for good fortune resonate through every bite. Collard greens with ham hocks were the foundation of every potluck spread, steaming and flavorful, occupying the space with their profound, earthy aroma. The greens were rinsed repeatedly in cool water, not just to cleanse them, but to respect the effort that went into cultivating them. The ham hocks simmered for hours until the meat mellowed, distributing taste through every leaf. The pot itself would quiver gently on the stove, as if harmonizing along with the gospel melodies on the radio. Grandmothers understood the timing by instinct, not clocks, sampling the stock and approving when it was prepared. A quality pot of greens could extend a dish, serve a family, and serve a crowd all the same. When transported into the church basement, the vapor clouded the covers of the serving dishes, and everyone nearby could detect the salt, the smoke, and the devotion. These greens shared tales about tenant farming days, about Sunday relaxation after extended weeks, about creating something wholesome from whatever you possessed. Nothing on that spread ever seemed more vibrant. Even if money was limited, you could consistently rely on greens to appear. Substantial and modest, presented with hot sauce and dignity, corn cob jelly converted what most people discarded away into a glistening amber spread that enhanced plain breads and biscuits. After kernels were removed from the cob for other purposes, the remaining cores were simmered for an extended time to extract natural starch and pectin. The liquid was filtered, sweetened with a small amount of sugar or honey when obtainable, and prepared again until it developed into a tender jelly with a subtle corn taste. Enslaved cooks mastered this conversion, guaranteeing nothing went to waste and every fragment contributed to sustenance. Long after emancipation, countryside homesteaders and Depression-era families adopted corn cob jelly as a frugal delicacy, and it still shows up at Southern craft markets and heritage celebrations. The mild sweetness and slightly toasted fragrance provide a flavor of remembrance and resourcefulness. Corn cob jelly demonstrates that culinary innovation can convert the most modest remains of the harvest into something lovely, a spread that respects the determination of those who discovered taste and solace in the very portions of the plant others dismissed. Sweet potato pie with brown sugar meringue adorned holiday spreads with an elegance that equaled its taste. Smooth mashed sweet potatoes combined with warm spices formed a filling as luxurious as any custard transferred into a flaky handmade shell. The finishing element was a cloud of meringue beaten with brown sugar until caramel-scented peaks developed and browned slightly in the oven. Families reserved the initial slice for respected guests or elders, a gesture of reverence and care. The pie held the sweetness of the southern earth and the expertise of generations who understood how to expand basic ingredients into festivity. Children cleaned the mixing bowls thoroughly while parents observed the meringue ascend, a collective moment of expectation before the feast. Over time, commercial pies and instant blends diminished the custom, but those who recall the comforting scent of brown sugar meringue recognize that this dessert is beyond food. It is a remembrance of family affection, careful hands, and the silent pride of homemade elegance. Sorghum syrup biscuits with milk were the kind of meal that demonstrated how families discovered sweetness even in hardship. Sorghum syrup, more affordable than sugar, was stored in jars that appeared to endure forever, drizzled abundantly over hot biscuits fresh from the oven. My grandmother prepared the biscuits with flour and lard, components that could be extended and distributed across multiple servings. Once the biscuits were finished, she divided them open, poured them with syrup, and presented them with cold milk served into glasses. It was basic but satisfying, offering enough energy for exhausted workers and developing children. The sweetness of the syrup converted plain flour biscuits into something that seemed like an indulgence, even if it was just dinner. In the 1960s, this kind of dish reminded families that warmth did not constantly require meat or complex dishes. It was about managing with what was available and discovering happiness in it. Sorghum syrup biscuits with milk were a testament that sweetness could ease the burden of difficulty. Smothered pork chops were Sunday resilience on a plate. Thick cuts of pork prepared slow in onion sauce until every bite separated at the touch of a fork. The grandmothers who created them did not hurry anything because taste required time and care required patience. They seared the chops in cast iron pans that had witnessed decades of suppers, allowing the sizzle signal the beginning of the feast. Then arrived the onions, cut thin, cooked golden, and mixed with stock and flour until the entire kitchen smelled like belonging. Those pans were never cleaned too thoroughly because that coating was legacy. By the time the chops were finished, the sauce had become deep and lustrous, coating rice, biscuits, or whatever was presented beside it. Folks queued up early at the church spread for this recipe, understanding it would be consumed before the choir even completed their hymn. It was not elaborate food. It was remembrance food, the kind that reminded you who nurtured you and how much devotion could exist inside one pan. Even now, if you ever detect that hearty sauce preparing, it seems like returning into a kitchen where joy and belief never depleted. Which of these church gathering recipes would you restore to the spread? Share your recollections in the comments. Hit like if these tastes reminded you of Sunday fellowship, and subscribe for more overlooked customs that nourished entire generations.